Hello and welcome to another video. Today let's talk about zero and negative exponents. Before we look at some practice problems, take a look at the right side of the screen and we'll talk about negative exponents and zero exponents. Now I love zero exponents for one reason and one reason only. Literally any number that you raise to the power of zero will give you an answer of 1. So whether that's 3 to the power of 0, negative 75 to the power of 0, 1,375,000,003 to the power of 0 is also 1. Okay. Now, negative exponents. What negative exponents tell us is that whatever variable or number we're using as the base is in the wrong part of a fraction. Now, if you see I have a to the power of negative 2, you're thinking, well, how's that a fraction? I'd like to remind you that anything could be written as a fraction when you do it over 1, right? Okay, so this is telling us that a to the negative second should actually be on the bottom. Now, because a to the negative second was in the wrong place, once we put it to the bottom, it's in the correct place. Therefore, I have a positive exponent because that's where it belongs. Likewise, if you look at the 1 over a to the negative second, this problem right here, a to the negative second is in the bottom of the fraction. That means that's not where it's supposed to be. I'm going to flip it up. And it becomes a to the positive second because that's where it wants to be. It wants to be on the opposite side. It's positive. So the key thing to remember here is negative exponents go on top or on bottom, so they flip. Okay, now let's do some examples. I'm going to zoom in. All right, so let's start with my favorite one of all, 0 power. 13 to the power of 0, 1. That's it. Okay. Negative fraction. Negative exponent in a fraction. I got excited. All right. So 4 to the power of negative 1 is in the bottom. That means it actually wants to be 4 to the positive 1 on top. And the only thing that's left on the bottom of a fraction is a 1. Now let's simplify. Anything over 1 is itself, so I don't really need the over 1. And 4 to the power of 1 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. All right. Let's continue on. Okay. So we have a negative outside of parentheses, and then we have 7 inside of the parentheses raised to the power of negative 2. Now, when I see this, I like to rewrite it. That negative out in front of the parentheses is actually an invisible negative 1. So we oftentimes in math, and I'm sure you've noticed by now, we have this invisible 1 multiplying by things and such, dividing, etc. So I like to write it out because there is a very common mistake in which we forget that it's actually the 7 being raised to the exponent and not a negative 7. And yes, that does have an influence on your answer, so you could get something wrong. So to prevent myself and my students from doing this, I like to write it out. Okay, so that was a tangent. Let's continue. Okay, so 7 has a negative 2. That means it's on the wrong side of the fraction. And what fraction are we talking about? We're talking about this fraction. So that invisible over 1 again. Okay, so let's get 7 squared onto the correct side of the fraction. Because it's on its correct side, it is positive now. Okay, so we have negative 1 times 1 over 49, which gives us an answer of negative 1 over 49. Ooh, that was ugly. There we go. Okay. Lots of talking there. Sorry, I hope I didn't lose you, but let's continue. Scrolling. Okay, so our next problem is evaluating. So that means is we're going to take all of the A, B, and the C that were given in the instructions, and we're going to plug it in. Okay, so first, before I plug the numbers in, I'm going to kind of write myself a skeleton. Okay, so I have 4, then I have A to the second, B to the negative second, and C to the third. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little more. A, B, and of course C. All right, let's plug in those numbers. A is -4, B is 3, and C is 2. All right, let's continue solving this. Okay, 4 times -4 to the power of 2 is actually going to give us an answer of +16. 3 to the power of -2 is actually 1 over 3 to the power of 2. And then 2 to the power of 3, we have 8. Okay, we still have some more to solve. Let's keep going. So before I enter this all into my calculator, whoops, sorry, let me move this a little bit so we have more room. Okay. Before I enter this in my calculator, I am going to rewrite 1 over 3 squared as 1/9. Okay, so now I'm going to enter all this into my calculator. You could do the same if you're following along with me. Okay, so 4 times 16 times 8, and then times 1/9, or I put in divided by 9. And then I got 56.89. Okay. So, that was a long one, mostly because I wrote everything out. I like to do that. So, you definitely don't need to write out all of these steps, but I would suggest being careful and being as tedious and write everything out as I am, and think you'll be safe. All right, let's see. We have one last one that I'd like to do with you. We're going to rewrite this fraction as a power of 10 using negative exponents. Okay, so I'm going to begin with the first part of the instructions was to rewrite it using a power of 10. All right. So I guess 1 can be rewritten as 10 to the power of 0. Although I think that's excessive. Let's not do that. Can erase that. Let's just leave that as 1. I don't think they want you to go that crazy. All right. I can write 1,000 as 10 to the power of 3. And it's really easy with the tens. All you have to do is count the amount of zeros you have. So when you have 1,000, that's 3 zeros, so that's 10 to the third. Okay, so I wrote 1 over 1,000 as 1 over 10 to the third. That's a positive 3 because it belongs in the bottom. So in order to make it negative, which is the second part of our instructions, I'm going to put it up top. Is it necessary to write over 1? No. You could have just skipped from this step to that step, but including that middle step is just a good safety precaution so you don't make a mistake. Alright, so I hope this helped clear up some questions. If not, please feel free to ask me or your teacher. Have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever time of day it is, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.